rejected for her size. Discover the incredible journey of a mail-order bride, finding true love. Amelia's heart sank as she read the latest message on her dating profile. Looking for someone who fits perfectly. She inwardly scoffed, wondering how anyone could overlook the depths of personality for a single number on a scale. At 30, a librarian in a quiet Midwestern town, she was used to navigating the harsh landscape of modern dating, a thin veneer of charm overlaying the reality of men who equated love with image. The constant whispers followed her around like a shadow, the consequences of being fuller-figured, laying bare the harsh judgments that echoed within and around her. Each day was tangled in cycles of hope and disappointment. Friends reminded her that she deserved love, while bearing their own opinions on what that love should look like, a formula she could neither control nor fit. Her heart ached for a connection that transcended appearances, yet the world built barriers that left her isolated, her faith dangling by a thread. What did it say about her? That for all the family values of love and resilience her lineage had instilled, she felt as if she was perpetually signaling for someone to acknowledge her worth. As Amelia fiddled with her hair, her fingers digging into the ends, she contemplated the growing discontent in her chest. There had to be more than this. The bitterness of rejection weighed heavily, and she knew she could either give in to despair or break out of the mold she'd been cast into. A mail-order bride service flickered across her mind, a rebellious notion that sent tremors of fear toward her rational thoughts. But could it work? Before she could linger on that thought, Amelia's racing mind bombarded her with doubts. What would everyone say? The whispers flickered in her mind like an intrusive static. She gave up. What a shame, such potential. But beneath the noise lay a kernel of courage. Her family, forged from generations of hard work and unwavering resolve, had faced their own struggles. Their love stories were brimming with commitment and shared values. As she began to write her profile, nostalgic memories cascaded over her. Family dinners with laughter, the scent of her grandmother's pies, the long nights spent discussing dreams. Each word felt sacred. She poured her soul into it, hoping that Jake, a rugged rancher from Montana who lifted cattle as easily as he typed messages, might read her words and see not just a number, but a tapestry of her life. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications, so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet just as hope began to bloom, the specter of uncertainty emerged. Jake shared stories that resonated with her, but then a vague reference slipped through the cracks, a mention of someone significant from his past. Amelia's stomach churned as the fear of becoming a mere consolation crept like a thief into her heart. Was she stepping into another layer of judgment, binding herself to shadows thick with doubt? The ache of inadequacy clawed at her insides as she prepared to confront him about this darkening shadow. In the library's hushed corners, she felt the walls closing in, the echoes of stories that resonated with courage, not quite aligning with her own fears. Torn between the allure of love and the weight of her own self-doubt, Amelia was standing on the precipice, ready to dive into the unknown. As Miami's fiery sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of foreboding red, she knew one thing. Whatever secrets were about to unravel, they could either stitch her heart together or expose the pieces she feared were irreparably broken. The impending rendezvous set her nerves aflame with possibilities and nightmares. Could she truly rise above everything that sought to define her? Could love blossom amidst the thorns of judgment and confusion? Standing in the library, Amelia stared at the flickering screen of her laptop, fraught with anticipation and dread. Jake's message sparkled with potential, yet the unaddressed shadow loomed larger. Reflecting on the words she'd poured into her profile, those soft but mighty declarations of who she was, she recognized they were courageous steps onto a path she'd long been afraid to tread. However, there lingered a gnawing feeling. Was she truly ready to share her heart? The vibrant chatter of the library faded as she turned her mind inward. Contemplating the very notion of love, she realized how often she'd equated it with acceptance and approval. A seamless fit for norms defined not by her, but by an arbitrary judgment of value connected to her size. Did she want to pursue a connection built upon the precarious foundation of someone else's projections? Amelia closed her eyes, focusing on her breath in an effort to quiet the chaos within. She could feel the stirring of something new and raw. Perhaps it was defiance, or simply the knowledge that she had more to offer than what met the eye. Questions whipped through her mind like a tempest. Who did she want to be in this pursuit? What values did she want to bring to a possible relationship? Determined to find clarity, she pulled out a journal, her reliable confidant. Ink flowed like a stream of consciousness onto the pages. With each stroke of the pen, she outlined what she deemed essential in a partner, a baseline of values that transcended physical features. Compassion, shared adventures, and above all, a mutual respect for one another's journey. As Amelia wrote, a revelation struck her. She had the power to define her own worth. That reassurance, almost palpable, seeped into her being. With each line she crafted, she not only reinforced her desires, but also confronted her own insecurities. The shadows that had haunted her shifted under the flow of ink, illuminating her resolve. The deeper she delved, the more she confronted the fear of inadequacy. In moments past, the word enough had felt like an unattainable ideal. Now, in her small library sanctuary, she felt the gritty texture of her own evolution forming. She was not simply seeking acceptance from another, she was aiming to build something meaningful that began with self-acceptance. After what felt like hours, Amelia sat back and surveyed her work. Setting boundaries and cultivating expectations around her own emotional ecosystem felt liberating. Yet, there were still latent worries. What if Jake didn't appreciate this newfound clarity? The thought sent a flicker of hesitation through her, but she would not allow fear to dictate her narrative any longer. Love must include an appreciation for the complexities within, not just a polished exterior. With this understanding, she felt ready to face the uncertainty surrounding Jake's reference to his past, a moment that had potential for confrontation, but also for growth. Drawing a deep breath, she powered up her laptop and began drafting a message. "I need to talk about your past," she started, feeling an electric mix of courage and trepidation course through her veins. Each word felt like a stepping stone across a river of doubt, propelling her closer to honest connection, forging her way towards the kind of love she had always craved. As she prepared to send the message, the weight of possibility pressed against her. The sun had now set, leaving only the soft glow of the screen illuminated the quieting space. Had she wings to soar into this new chapter, or would she plunge headfirst into the icy waters of rejection again? This was the moment she had been inching toward. She clicked send, already feeling the tremor of uncertainty echo in her heart. But could she trust in her own journey, in the power of her words, and in the rightness of their unfolding story? Outside, the night enveloped the library, and as shadows shifted in the cool air, the unseen currents of change began to swirl around this pivotal moment. Whatever came next would define her next step. Would Jake embrace her vulnerability, or would she confront rejection yet again? Time felt suspended. The next phase of her journey awaited, and with it, the opening of hidden chocolates within herself, yet undiscovered. Amelia stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity, the soft hum of the laptop filling the silence that had settled around her. The anticipation of Jake's reply loomed heavily, suffocating some of the courage she had just summoned. It was ironic how fragile bravery could feel, fluctuating like a candle flame in a draft. Did she truly have the strength to embrace whatever came next? As moments slipped by, anxiety nudged at her thoughts. She replayed their previous conversations, noting the sparks of connection they had shared, and savoring the warmth that emerged from those exchanges. Yet beneath that warmth remained an unsettling chill, the unspoken elements of Jake's past. Would he view her revelations as mere sentimentality, or take them to heart? With a deep breath, she clicked open her journal again, searching for that quiet ally to steady her heart. On the blank page before her, she charted her emotions, willing her pen to dance freely across the paper. What did she seek, really? An honest connection, one rooted in transparency and understanding. As she crafted her thoughts, clarity crystallized. She wasn't just reaching for acceptance, she was inviting vulnerability, allowing herself to be seen in entirety, the good, the flawed, the beautiful, and the messy. In her lifetime, she had adorned herself with armor crafted from defenses against judgment. But that evening she began to peel away those layers, determined to be raw and real. She scribbled reminders to herself. Your worth is intrinsic. Stay true to your desires. Demand respect. Each phrase served as both a mantra and a declaration. More than a desire for love, she sought companionship that valued authenticity over superficiality. It was time she lived in alignment with her truth. Just then, a notification pinged from her laptop, jolting her from introspection. Jake's name flickered across the screen like a spark of energy. A wave of nervous anticipation washed over Amelia. Had he read her message? Would he meet her openness with his own? There was no turning back now. The moment of truth had arrived. Her heart raced as she opened the chat window, hesitating for merely a heartbeat before diving headfirst into the conversation. Hey, Amelia, I got your message. Can we talk? The simplicity of his words held the gravity of 1,000 unspoken thoughts. As their conversation unfolded, Amelia felt a flurry of mixed emotions. Jake's honesty around his past bore both the weight of pain and the brightness of hope. Understanding flickered between them. He admitted to struggles with acceptance, revealing scars not visible at first glance. Each confession resonated with the vulnerability she had bravely presented. It was here, in those exchange of truths, that Amelia encountered another layer of her journey, confronting her tendency to project her insecurities onto others. Could she trust that his past wouldn't overshadow their connection? As she worked to respond authentically, she felt the lurking shadows of her own judgments dissolve. It's okay to be afraid of what we're building, Jake wrote, his words a balm for her anxiety. But could we take it slow? Amelia's heart soared momentarily, appreciating his willingness to tread carefully while committing to honesty. The night deepened around her, yet Amelia felt invigorated instead of weary. The act of navigating discomfort with grace solidified her emerging strength. She wasn't just forging a connection, she was also crafting a fundamental understanding of her own worth. Her journey was not solely about the pursuit of love, but an awakening of self. As she prepared to respond, resolved to meet this new frontier with courage, she knew one truth. The dance of vulnerability had only just begun. Could she maintain her elevated sense of self-worth while believing in the potential of a shared future? An unexpected message from Jake pinged again. Amelia, I think we have a lot to unpack. Can we meet tomorrow? With each heartbeat, Amelia felt the stakes rise. The real confrontation loomed just ahead. An opportunity to clarify her own aspirations or risk leaving behind the safety net she had intricately woven. Would she step towards the unknown or retreat into familiarity? The choice would define her next leap into the depths of connection, the awakening of hidden facets within herself, waiting to be explored. As dawn broke, a subtle glow spilled into Amelia's room, but sleep eluded her. She lay awake, mind racing through the possibilities of her forthcoming meeting with Jake. Today wasn't just about a conversation with him. It was about clarifying the nuances of her own heart. She moved through her morning routine with mechanical precision, each action punctuated by her swirling thoughts. Standing before the bathroom mirror, she scrutinized her reflection, searching for the confidence she desperately wished to embody. Instead, she found a well of lingering doubts. Would she be enough? Could she truly expose her vulnerabilities without being overwhelmed by the weight of them? With her heart still playing the frenetic dance of anticipation, she arrived at the coffee shop, their chosen meeting point, early. She settled into a corner table, the aroma of brewed coffee enveloping her like a comforting embrace. But comfort was fleeting. Dread began to creep in as she considered the weight of their conversation. Moments stretched into what felt like hours, the ticking clock amplifying her restlessness. Finally, the bell above the door jingled, and Jake walked in. His presence sent ripples through the calm she had tried to establish. He was visibly anxious, brushing a hand through his hair as he scanned the room. When their eyes met, a flicker of recognition ignited a spark of hope within Amelia. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. The hesitance in his voice mirrored her own uncertainty. "Hey," she responded, forcing a smile, though it felt more like a mask than a genuine expression. Jake shifted in his seat, moments of awkward silence stretching between them before he spoke again. "Thanks for agreeing to meet. I think we have a lot to work through." "Yeah, we do," she said, her voice steadying as if each word was reclaiming her agency. "I want to understand more about us, what we can build, but I also need to share my fears." Jake nodded, his expression open yet apprehensive. "I'm all ears," he said, leaning forward. Amelia inhaled deeply, summoning strength from within. "I've spent so long being afraid of showing my true self. I thought if I presented a polished version of who I was, others would accept me. But I'm realizing that's not sustainable. I want to lay everything bare, my insecurities, my dreams, what I hope for in this connection." His eyes reflected a mix of admiration and apprehension. "You're not alone in that fear. I feel the same way. My past makes me hesitant to dive deeply into this. I don't want to hurt you." "And I don't want to be hurt either," she replied, her voice firming. "But I can't grow if I keep shrouding myself in fear or hiding behind an ideal. We have to be honest. It's the only way, right?" Jake studied her for a moment, and for the first time, Amelia felt a powerful shift in the air. It was as if her willingness to embrace vulnerability summoned something significant between them. "Okay, let's do it," he said, breaking into a genuine smile. "Let's be real." With that, Amelia felt a surge of energy empowering her. The conversation unfurled, each revelation a thread weaving their emotions closer. As they dived deeper into their individual tales, Amelia discovered a new talent for articulating her feelings, a form of strength she hadn't recognized before. She was no longer just a passive participant, but an active creator of her narrative. Towards the meeting's end, a silence settled over them, heavy yet comforting. Jake leaned back, visibly processing their shared vulnerability. "I didn't expect this," he admitted. "I thought it would be more surface-level discussion. You know, keep it light." "No," Amelia interjected, her heart racing with excitement. "I don't want light. I want substance. I think that's what makes our connection real." The stakes felt higher than before, a palpable current rushing through the space between them. In that moment, she recognized the new depths of her own desire to explore love, not just as a notion, but as a tangible reality, flaws and all. As they prepared to part, Jake brushed his fingers along the edge of his cup, contemplatively. "Amelia, I really want to create something meaningful here. It's going to take effort from both of us, though." A smile broke through her seriousness. "I'm ready to put in that effort." Walking out of the cafe, a thrilling mixture of exhilaration and uncertainty filled her. Yet amid those emotions lay a steady foundation of self-discovery, a revelation that her willingness to be vulnerable could open doors previously thought closed. The time had come to face the deeper shadows of both their pasts, as well as the potent promise of their potential. Tomorrow, they would embark on the journey of confronting what lay ahead, together. But first, Amelia knew she had to reflect not just on their conversation, but on her evolving relationship with herself. Could she sustain this newfound authenticity, even as the shadows of doubt attempted to creep back in? Only time would tell. The following morning, Amelia woke with a clarity she had not expected. Her thoughts danced between what she had shared with Jake and the realization of just how far she had come in a single conversation. Each vulnerability she had unveiled felt like a key turned in the locks around her heart, unfettering, liberating. Yet doubt still lingered like a shadow at the edge of her consciousness. Amelia stared at the breakfast she had prepared, but found herself unable to eat. Instead, she picked up her phone and stared absently at the screen. How had she managed to open up to Jake so boldly? The memory of his attentive gaze, acknowledging her fears rather than dismissing them, rang in her mind. Perhaps, she thought, this was what authentic connection felt like, and it ignited a flicker of hope that she could nurture this bond further. Yet, as she moved through her day, a familiar unease prickled at her thoughts. Why this urgency to rush into something she was still unsure of? If Jake's hesitations echoed her own, had she jumped too quickly? Amelia wondered if embracing vulnerability would simply leave her exposed. She decided to take a walk, hoping the fresh air would assist in sorting through her evolving emotions. Strolling through the nearby park, the chirping of birds and the rustle of leaves wrapped around her, coaxing her into a momentary reprieve. She sat on a bench and began to reflect. Her gaze fell upon couples walking hand in hand and families laughing together, and it struck her how many people appeared so effortlessly connected. But Amelia understood that it was the vulnerability she had dared to embrace with Jake that could transform her existence, if she allowed it to. The connection she felt with Jake stood in stark contrast to her previous relationships, each one haunted by the ghosts of her insecurities. Her inexperience in love often pushed people away, and it stung to recall those experiences. She could easily slip into her old defenses if she allowed fear to re-enter her heart. Determined, Amelia opened her phone and jotted down a list of affirmations. As she wrote, each statement became a quiet resolution. I am worthy of love. I deserve to be seen. I choose to face my fears, not let them dictate my journey. There was power in her penned declarations, and the fear she once held began to dissipate, replaced by determination. As she reviewed her list, the sharp chime of a notification interrupted her thoughts. It was a message from Jake, casual and warm, but tinged with meaning, as he suggested they meet again soon. A wave of apprehension washed over her. She felt the old uncertainty creeping back. But there it was, lurking beneath the surface. Did she now even know how to navigate this burgeoning relationship? Amelia could either respond from a place of authenticity, bolstered by her newfound courage, or retreat behind a facade of hesitation. What was she truly prepared to do? With a deep breath, she began typing. Her fingers danced on the screen, urging her to connect without the weight of hesitation. I'd love to meet again, she wrote back. How about this weekend? The moment she hit send, relief washed over her. For the first time, she felt in control of her narrative. However, doubt still flared within. Was it too soon? Would he still want to explore these depths if she faltered? Each new level of growth seemed inseparable from the intricate dance between power and vulnerability. As Amelia departed the park, her mind buzzed with potentialities. But it was experience she needed now, not just thought. She approached each step forward like a tightrope walk between fear and hope, both essential yet daunting. She could actively reshape her narrative in the face of uncertainty, but could she sustain this momentum? The moment she would face Jake again felt looming, an intersection of possibilities. Just then, she caught sight of her reflection in a nearby shop window. Despite the uncertainty swirling within, she paused. Perhaps it was time to confront the fear of rejection head-on. What if she wasn't just ready for Jake, but also prepared to align with her authentic self in every interaction? The question hung in the air like an unspoken pact. She set her sights towards a new horizon, an acceptance of the transformative journey ahead, where love, clarity, and identity awaited. Little did she know, she would soon encounter obstacles that would truly test her resolve. What unexpected twists would emerge when the past interlaced with her burgeoning future? Amelia paced in her small apartment, the subtle hum of the city outside barely registering as she immersed herself in anticipation. Remembering her last encounter with Jake sent both warmth and apprehension swirling inside her. What if her determination crumbled when faced with the undeniable chemistry that had sparked between them? She had taken a step toward vulnerability, but now the reality set in like a heavy weight on her chest. Looking around, she realized her surroundings had remained unchanged, contrasting with the whirlwind of emotions consuming her. Books stacked haphazardly, the couch where late-night revelations took place, the small kitchen where she concocted meals like rituals. These spaces bore witness to her unfiltered self. Yet, beneath this familiarity lay the question pressing deeper than ever. Who was she becoming? With a sudden burst of intent, she snatched her phone from the table and tapped out a message outlining the things she wanted to share with Jake. Part of her craved light-hearted banter, but another part acknowledged the absence of deeper conversations. What if the risk she took with him was the catalyst for a new chapter in her life? Still she hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen, heart racing at the prospect of declaring her authentic self. "I'd like to talk about our past experiences. What shaped you?" she typed, sending the message before she could second-guess her choice. The reply came faster than expected. He was intrigued, inviting her to a cafe where they could not only dive into memories, but also explore the present unfolding between them. Arriving at the cafe, she noticed the aroma of freshly brewed coffee seemed to invite a sense of comfort, but the fluttering of her pulse contradicted that oasis. She took a deep breath, determined to lean into this moment and discard the weight of past insecurities. A small part of her recognized the magnitude of her choice. To engage on an authentic level would mean exposing her scars, those that had often kept her shielded. Jake appeared, an easy smile blooming as their eyes met. As they settled into their seats, the initial chatter was smooth, yet she sensed an undertow in both of their conversations. There was a hesitation, a caution, as if they were approaching a precipice neither had dared to cross before. "Tell me about a time you felt vulnerable," he asked suddenly, his eyes earnest. Her heart raced. Here was her opportunity. She could either dismiss the question, wrap herself in her usual defenses, or delve into the very core of her evolution. "I used to think vulnerability was a weakness," Amelia admitted, her voice steady despite the whirlwind inside. "But it's in that space where I truly began evolving. I learned that embracing it can be empowering." Each word felt like a soliloquy, resonating with the authenticity she sought. Jake nodded, his expression revealing a mix of intrigue and empathy. "I can relate," he admitted. "I've shied away from relationships for fear of falling into old patterns." The conversation opened like a poppy blossom unfurling. They began peeling back layers, revealing fears and aspirations that had festered out of sight. As the afternoon deepened into evening light, Amelia felt a shift within. Their conversation transcended the mundane, weaving through truths that felt almost sacred. Still, a flicker of doubt remained. Would they be able to sustain this connection if they unearthed scarier realities? Would vulnerability be met with understanding, or would it result in retreat? Suddenly, Jake leaned forward, capturing her attention. "There's something I want to share, but I need you to promise me something. No judgment." Amelia's breath caught. The air thickened with the gravity of his words, her mind racing through possibilities. What confession could be so monumental, capable of shifting the course of their interaction? Fear gripped her, but so did the exhilaration of knowing that this moment marked yet another turning point in her journey. She had embraced vulnerability, but would she be able to remain anchored when faced with Jake's truth? The space around them filled with hushed tension, leaving Amelia poised on the brink. The real test of her resolve was about to begin. Would she cultivate the courage to confront not just her fears, but also those of the man sitting across from her? The oncoming revelation lingered like a silent storm. As she awaited his words, a question echoed in her mind. Would they both walk away enlightened, or would the shadow of their past truly sever the bond they had begun to forge? The moment lingered, electric and tantalizing, as Jake's gaze bore into hers. The barista was busy behind the counter, oblivious to the emotional standoff unfolding at their table. Amelia felt the weight of expectation press down on her. She was not merely a passive listener here. She was a participant in a dance of truths, with each step requiring conviction and bravery. "Okay," he began, his voice lower now, tinged with an almost imperceptible tremor. "I don't just shy away from relationships because of my past. There's more." His hands fidgeted slightly, a contrast to the calm surface he often offered. "I was married once. It didn't end well." Amelia swallowed hard, the reality of his confessions sinking in. It struck her as both a burden and a bridge. How was she to navigate this revelation without drowning in the depths of his pain? "What happened?" she ventured, her voice softer, careful. Jake hesitated again, jaw tightening before he continued. "My wife struggled with addiction. I was swept up in wanting to help, fixing things. I thought love would be enough." The disappointment echoed in his tone revealed more than his mere words. It was as if he was peeling back years of self-inflicted hurt. "But it consumed me. When she finally left, I felt broken, like I had failed." The silence stretched between them, heavy with understanding and unspoken questions. Amelia realized she was witnessing the kind of vulnerability that had eluded her for so long, a grittier version of what she had shared. A flicker of empathy ignited inside her. In this moment, Jake's confession demonstrated not just his fragility, but his courage in looking back at the wreckage to expose the lessons within. "Jake," she whispered, unsure of how to respond while also revealing her own shadows. "There's strength in acknowledging what you felt, what you lost. You didn't fail. Life just turned out differently than expected." He met her gaze, the walls he had built crackling under her compassionate gaze. "And I've been so afraid to let anyone in since. You make me want to try again. But I wonder if it's just the thrill of the moment." What he said stung, not because of its potential to hurt her, but because it rang true. Hadn't she grappled with similar fears? The terror of falling back into old patterns, of repeating mistakes while longing for something real? She felt the urge to escape, to retreat into her safe space, an instinct perhaps, honed after years of guarding herself. Then she felt it shift inside, a daring impulse emerging. What if she chose to embrace the discomfort instead? "I get it," she replied, the conviction unwavering in her tone. "To be afraid is part of the process. I've kept myself hidden, thinking I could shield my heart. Yet being here, with you, makes me realize that my past is not my prison, and neither is yours." He studied her, a flicker of surprise brightening his expression. "So, you're saying we both have to evolve past the pain?" "Yes," she urged, feeling the lift of courage buoy her voice. "It's about confronting where we came from, to understand where we can go, together." The weight of their shared experiences created a resonance she hadn't anticipated. They were two souls on the precipice of reinvention, standing firm against the residue of their histories while grasping for the possibility of connection. But here lies the crux. Would it be enough? In letting go of their old selves, the stakes felt dangerously high. The fear of loss loomed, but so did the hope of something profound. As the evening deepened, the cafe buzz melted into an intimate hush around them. With each passing moment, Amelia and Jake were forging paths away from their shame. Yet beneath the comfort of shared vulnerability, a voice inside Amelia urged her to tread carefully. Would the light they found be brilliant enough to mitigate past shadows, or would they find themselves succumbing to old ghosts once more? As Jake opened his mouth to speak, a longing etched into his expression. Amelia braced herself for the leaps that lay ahead. Could they both evolve beyond their fears, or were they too late to shift the destinies they had worn like armor? The resolve to move forward trembled at the edge of uncertainty as the echo of their truths reverberated in the cafe's stillness, a pending transformation that might yield both love and peril. Would love be the compass guiding them, or would time and doubt tear them apart once more? The moment Jake fell silent, the reflection of their conversation unfolded in Amelia's mind like pieces of a complex puzzle, each piece revealing fragments of their shared solitude. For the first time in a long while, she felt the tight grip of her own fears loosen just a fraction, yet the awareness crept in that this newfound connection could just as easily slip away. Amelia sifted through her emotions, questioning why this moment felt so seismic. She had spent countless hours meticulously building walls, an architect of her own isolation, and now here she was, contemplating the demolition of her defenses alongside another who harbored their own scars. What if opening herself to Jake meant exposing the fragility she had long masked? "Can I ask you something?" she ventured, curiosity battling with trepidation. The barista paused just long enough to deliver their coffees, breaking the hushed intimacy but not the intensity of their exchange. Jake nodded, his eyes steady, encouraging her to delve deeper. "Do you ever think about what life would look like if you didn't let your past define you?" The question felt loaded, heavy with implications. Amelia's heart raced. She was not just seeking insight, but wrestling with her own reluctance to confront similar truths. Jake leaned back slightly, contemplation draping his features. "I do. Some days it feels like I'm a prisoner of my memories. They linger, whispering doubts." He hesitated, grappling with the weight of honesty. "Yet, what you said tonight, it's made me realize that maybe it's the layers that need peeling back, not just the chains." Amelia absorbed his words, her fingers warming around the coffee cup. Could they really shed the weight of their histories? She felt a flicker of hope igniting within her, a desire to carve out a new narrative that embraced imperfection while allowing room for growth. It's scary to consider, isn't it? What would happen if we claimed our right to evolve? Terrifying, Jake admitted, but exhilarating too. Like stepping off a cliff and trusting that I'll find wings. His eyes brightened, reflecting his conviction. In that moment, Amelia witnessed not just Jake's wisdom, but her own adventurous spirit awakening from dormancy. She had put her own life on hold, perpetually waiting for the right moment. A fear of being inadequate had kept her shackled to a version of herself she no longer recognized. Perhaps this moment demanded action, a new definition of waiting, one that involved a proactive embrace of life rather than a passive acceptance of circumstances. As the clock continued its relentless march forward, she made a decision, subtly shifting her posture, allowing vulnerability to lay bare her intentions. Let's make a pact, then. Let's commit to facing our pasts, not letting them dictate our futures. Together. Jake's surprise melted into a sincere smile, a bridge forged between them. You're serious? Amelia met his gaze, firm and resolute. Absolutely. I want to know who I can become, unbound by my fears. Except now, a shadow loomed in the back of her mind. What would it take to uphold this commitment? What inner conflicts awaited her that might test the very bond they were attempting to build? Suddenly, her phone buzzed, jolting her from reverie. She glanced at the screen, an unread message from her mother, reminding her of her upcoming family dinner. Tension unfurled in her chest. The ancestral pressures of expectation clashed vehemently against her desire for autonomy. Jake picked up on the change. Everything okay? Not really, she admitted, her voice caught somewhere between confession and fear. It's this dinner. My family. They see me as this perfect daughter, forever waiting for life to unfold like a fairy tale. I don't want to disappoint them, but I can't pretend anymore. His expression shifted to one of understanding. You have every right to carve your own story, but it might require some confrontations, won't it? The weight of his words hung in the air between them, heavy with possibility, yet tinged with apprehension. Amelia recognized that stepping into her truth meant looking her family's expectations in the eye, a raw confrontation involving both love and the potential for conflict. As she processed the complexities of her next step, the urgency of the moment pierced through her thoughts. Could she face her own family with the same bravery she felt in this cafe? The challenge lay ahead. It was one thing to open her heart to Jake, but it was another entirely to navigate the uncharted waters of family dynamics. The cafe buzzed around them, and the faint weight of anticipation hummed in the silence. Would she discover the strength to advocate for herself, or was she fated to retreat into familiar patterns? With Jake watching intently, the stakes felt higher than ever. This was the precipice. And on the other side lay a realm of authenticity, ready for her touch. The critical question lingered. Could she embrace the vulnerability of truth, or would it all slip away before she could even begin? Amelia took a deep breath, an unsettling mix of dread and resolve swirling within her. The evening of the family dinner loomed ahead like a storm cloud on the horizon, threatening to engulf her. She understood that this encounter could become the defining moment of her resolve. Either it would solidify her commitment to honest self-expression, or it would crumble under the weight of years spent suppressing her true identity. As they finished their drinks, she sought Jake's gaze, his steady presence anchoring her in a tumultuous sea of feelings. Can you really see it? I've spent so much time trying to fit into this mold that my family made for me. How do I even start to break free? The question felt raw, similar to stripping back skin to reveal the sensitive flesh beneath. Jake leaned forward, his fingers laced together on the table, their connection as palpable as the warmth radiating from the mugs. You start with one step. One moment where you declare you're more than just the expectations placed upon you. It's not about rejecting your family. It's about redefining what being part of them means for you. His words hung there, resonating deep within. A sudden influx of determination surged through her. Perhaps she didn't need to sever ties, but could instead weave a new thread into the fabric of their relationships, one that showcased her true self. But pivotal moments often came with stakes, and she knew that her family's reactions could range from loving acceptance to vehement backlash. I have to figure out how to communicate that I need to be seen as I am. I want to be more than their perfect daughter, she murmured, more to herself than Jake. The coffee shop began to empty, the evening shadows growing longer. How do I prepare for that? The reality of the upcoming confrontation hit her, an acknowledgement that she needed a strategy, not just a dream. Write it down. Outline what you want to say before you go. When you're faced with their expectations, the emotions can distract you. This way, you'll have clarity. His suggestion felt surprisingly solid. She could visualize the words forming on the page, a bridge between her internal conviction and external reality. Amelia nodded slowly, the gears of her mind whirring. This wasn't just about a conversation. It was about her reclamation of agency over her life. I need to remind myself that this is a conversation, not a battle. I can be honest without being confrontational, she affirmed. A new fire lit her spirit, sharp and invigorating, almost electric. The enormity of the task didn't dissipate, but it shifted. No longer paralyzing, it transformed into a challenge she was determined to meet. Thanks, Jake. I feel a little less like I'm walking into a minefield now, she chuckled, the nervous tension easing marginally. Just remember, it's okay to be vulnerable. You don't have to be perfect. His reassurance was warm, a lighthouse guiding her through fog. Amelia observed the dwindling crowd, time slipping away. She realized that every moment spent lingering at the cafe was another minute she could be preparing her speech. The impending dinner weighing heavy on her mind, alongside her hopes of authenticity. The conversation with Jake invigorated her while simultaneously heightening her anxiety, pushing her to confront not just her family but the fears that had long dictated her decisions. The realization settled deep within her. She would face her family, not with the aim to satisfy their expectations, but to assert her reality. A reality filled with dreams, ambitions, and vulnerabilities she had kept hidden away. As they stood to leave, a shiver of anticipation coursed through her. Tomorrow, I'll take the step. I'll write it out tonight. The heaviness in her chest felt lighter, replaced with an unfamiliar zest for what might come next. But lingering at the edge of her thoughts was an unsettling question. What if her family's reaction was one of disappointment or anger? Despite her resolve, a flicker of doubt threatened to spiral back in. Would she find the courage to stand firm if they pushed back against her truth? With the evening stretching ahead, poised between fear and courage, she felt the stakes rising. Not just for herself, but for who she could become. With the promise of revealing herself at that dinner, Amelia wondered if she could truly navigate the tumultuous waters ahead, knowing full well that this confrontation might just shift the dynamics of her entire being. The moment was imminent, and she could only hope that when the time came, her voice would not falter. One thing was clear. Confronting her family would be more than just an act of defiance. It would be a testament to her growth and the beginning of a new chapter in her life. What would happen when the curtain lifted and she finally stepped into the limelight? The day of the family dinner arrived, and Amelia woke with a mixture of excitement and anxiety coursing through her veins. The sunlight streaming through the window felt both warm and intimidating, a stark contrast to the churning uncertainty within her. Today would be a decisive turn in her journey, a moment where she could stand tall and advocate for her genuine self. As she stood in front of the mirror, she meticulously arranged her hair, a ritual that had always provided a sense of comfort. But this time, she added something new, the intention to be seen for who she genuinely was. She wasn't just Amelia, the daughter, the librarian, the content individual molded by expectations. Today, she was Amelia, the woman defining her worth beyond numbers and judgments. In the kitchen, the aroma of her mother's famous roast filled the air, wafting memories of family gatherings and cherished moments. But today, those scents didn't just evoke nostalgia. They sharpened her resolve. Amelia entered the dining room, heart racing, each step echoing a challenge against the weight of expectations. Her family was already seated, casual conversations breezing through the air, momentarily masking the heaviness she carried. As she approached, her parents looked up, their faces lighting up with the usual affection reserved for their daughter. Amelia felt the warmth, but also an underlying pressure. "Amelia, so nice to see you," her mother exclaimed, embracing her in that comforting hug that always felt like a homecoming. "Thanks, Mom," Amelia responded, her voice steady, though her heart raced as she took a seat at the table. Small talk ensued, but a knot tightened in her stomach, wrapping around the realization that she had a weighty conversation hovering just above their heads. It was time to make her move. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, feeling the pulse of resolve building. As dinner progressed, she found pockets of courage between bites and laughter. Moments of light-heartedness from her siblings felt like a balm, easing the tension simmering beneath her surface. Yet, the time slipped away. She needed to act before the fleeting courage waned. "Can I share something with everyone?" she said, her voice rising above the conversations, and the room immediately hushed, all eyes turning to her. There was a profound stillness, a canvas blank, and waiting for the brushstrokes of her truth. Amelia felt the weight of their gazes, but this time it felt different. This weight was no longer suffocating. It was affirming. She held her chin up and began. "I've been thinking a lot about our family expectations lately. I realize there might be a disconnect between who I'm expected to be and who I really am." The air in the room shifted, tension mingling with surprise. Her father's brow furrowed slightly, and her mother's expectant gaze lingered on her, keenly attentive. This was real. There was nothing soft about her admission. "I appreciate all you've done for me and the love you've provided," she continued, her heart racing. "But I want to share with you how I've felt pressured to fit into a mold of perfection that doesn't resonate with who I truly am." Silence enveloped the room. Even the sound of cutlery paused, and she could feel every heartbeat, resonating louder than any spatial noise. "I'm more than just the measurements of success or your vision of what love should look like. I am a woman navigating her own landscape, hoping to experience life authentically, even if it means disappointing some expectations." Her brother shifted uncomfortably in his seat, while her mother's look morphed into one of concern, thin worry lines carving across her brow. "What do you mean by that, Amelia?" her mother asked, her voice quivering gently. Amelia could feel the stakes rising. The moment of truth had arrived, and it was hers to cradle or fumble. "I have been seeing someone, Jake, and I want to pursue that connection without feeling like I have to justify every decision I make along the way. I want to build my own narrative, to define what love and success mean for me." Her mother's face softened, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "But what about security? What about settling down?" The concern poured out, genuine but laced with her fears. "I understand your perspective, but love isn't confined to predefined paths. I need to explore who I am outside of those realms," she asserted, feeling the warmth of her truth drawing support from the very air surrounding her. The silence felt like a hum, stretching taut as her father finally spoke. "Amelia, we only want what's best for you. It's hard to hear you challenge our beliefs. Are you sure this is what you want?" His voice didn't bear judgment, but sincere concern, a love tethered to their family ideals. "Yes," she affirmed, steadier this time. "I am sure. This is about my growth, not a rejection of my roots. I want to navigate my own existence while still appreciating everything that you've done for me." The atmosphere in the room began to shift again. Recognition and hesitation danced in the air around their family unit. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just advocating for herself. She was opening a door for an honest conversation, a spark that could take their relationship to uncharted territories.
"Maybe it's worth trying to understand what you're saying," her sister piped in suddenly, her voice surprisingly supportive. Perhaps we can grow together rather than apart, she offered, her enthusiasm earnest. Encouraged by her sister's response, Amelia's confidence surged. That's all I wish for, to grow and explore life with the understanding that we can still support each other, even if we might disagree at times. I want to be treasured for who I am, not just who you hope I'll become.
With each word, she radiated newfound strength, illuminating the corners of doubt that had once overshadowed her spirit. The conversation unfolded between laughter and realization, empathy and understanding, building bridges over previously difficult waters. As dinner wore on, she didn't just feel heard, she felt cherished in her authenticity. The discussions ebbed and flowed, revealing layers of love tempered by the complexities of raising a family. For the first time, Amelia embraced her identity, not just as the perfect daughter, but as a courageous individual navigating her life on her own terms. And in that liberating realization, Amelia knew she had accomplished something monumental. Not only for herself, but for her family as well. She had effectively reclaimed her voice, her narrative, and had embarked on the journey toward a love that promised to be profound, real, and true. With the evening closing and laughter resounding through the hall, she felt the last vestiges of doubt fade into a symphony of acceptance and growth, intertwining the complexities of families with the embrace of authenticity. A door was opened, and together they had stepped into the light of a new horizon. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It genuinely helps. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think will happen next? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second.